Hello, welcome to Web of Stories. My name is Melinda and it is Tag Tuesday. So I am here with let me get it right here, the Christmas music tag. So I was tagged in this twice. First by Pat at Book Chat with Pat, and then from Ellen at Ellen Made Book Club. And so thank you both for tagging me. And this was created by Daniela at Uncommon Reader and Reney at Beyond Books. I will put all that in there, so you'll see all that. But yeah, so the prompts on this one are Christmas carols, and it prompts us to bring different books to you. It's pretty self-explanatory, so let's go. The first one, Joy to the World, a book that brings you so much joy you wish the whole world would read it. For these books, I tried to choose books that I haven't been talking about a lot, so you don't just keep seeing the same books over and over again. But on this one, I'm sorry, Mink River by Brian Doyle. And I've always said that this is a very personal 5-star book for me because it's Oregon coast and that's a place I'm really familiar with and it really speaks to me on that level. I have a little bit of indication on this though because Sue Jackson just read Chicago, which I have not read, by Brian Doyle, and she loved it. And I've loved everything I've read by Brian Doyle, but this is my favorite, Mink River. It is a story of a town on the Oregon coast. It's a fictional town, but it's very representative of the towns that are there. And this is an area I know well. It's like an hour west of me. And there's magical realism. This is Moses, the talking crow. And you get to meet the people of this town. And, you know, it has Brian Doyle's sort of signature outlook on the world, I guess is the best way to explain it. So I have been pressing this book all the time. You're probably sick of hearing about it. As I said before, Ellen got it at her library in Sweden to carry it. And then she had to return it because someone else wanted it, which means there's 2 people in Sweden who want to read this book. And I'm so happy about that. But Mink River, my all-time favorite book. Next question, Let It Snow, a book that takes place in a snowy, cold environment. So this is one where I really had to think because usually I go to like the Gingerbread Men, and I need to retire that one. I probably need to retire Mink River too for recommendations because I always bring that up. But I went to the Dame, Agatha Christie, the Siddiford Mystery. So this is set in a very, it's a standalone. So it's not a Poirot or a Marple or anything like that. And it's in a remote house in the middle of Dartmoor. 6 shadowy figures huddle around a table for a seance. So it's got this sort of like creepy macabre thing, but there's all this snow, but it has the pluckiest heroine I think I have read. Every once in a while, Agatha Christie just gives you these great young lady characters. And the one in here is fantastic. I can't remember her name though. I'll have to look it up. It's not important, but it's a fantastic book. And it's not one that I see people talk about a lot. So I'm kind of pushing this. This is a great standalone. So it might be a good on-ramp to Agatha Christie if you haven't read anything by her and you're looking for some place to start. This is not a bad place to start because it's not part of a series. And she really gets that like cold, snowy feel in it. And the snow kind of plays a little part with clues too. So that's cool. Question 3. You're a Mean One, Mr. Grinch, a book with a mean character or one that you just didn't like. So I think this is one of the meanest characters. And this is a book that people have such strong feelings about. And I have had both strong feelings about it. The first time I read it, I hated it. And then I read it again and I loved it because everyone says this is a love story. It's not a love story. No. It's Wuthering Heights. And Heathcliff is really a horrible person. He's really horrible. As I said, I have just recently re-listened to this, a great audiobook narrated by Joanne Froggatt. Fantastic if you're looking for an audio of it. Since the last time I had reread Wuthering Heights, I had since read The Count of Monte Cristo. And I realized that Heathcliff is kind of like a sick and twisted Count of Monte Cristo, the character, the Count of Monte Cristo. That's like the best way to describe him. But at one point he actually basically enslaves someone. He's really a horrible character, but he's also very layered. And there's something about him that people can relate to in a very dark part of themselves. And I think that's why he's an enduring character as opposed to just an evil character. You're not going to like it. No one's going to like Heathcliff. If you do like Heathcliff, you might want to call a therapist. But yes, this is a dark tale about obsession. I love it for that. Once I realized it wasn't what everybody told me it was. It's not a love story. It is a story about passion and obsession. Then I got it. And I'm a dark and twisty person inside, so it worked out. So yeah, Heathcliff is very mean to people. Okay, next question. Santa Claus is Coming to Town, a book releasing soon you can't wait to read. Funny story about this. So I was going through my pre-orders and trying to find something that I had a book picked out. And then I was getting ready to do this video and I saw that I had an email from Fantastic Fiction saying they've added a book to one of the authors that I follow. So I looked it up, and this is the first I've heard of it. It is not listed on Amazon or Goodreads or anything like that. It's coming out in 2025, but I don't know a date beyond that. And this is No Friend to This House by Natalie Haynes. And this is another one of her Greek mythology retellings. And this time she takes on Medea. So I'm going to read to you what is here on Fantastic Fiction. No Friend to This House is the story of Medea, but not as you think you know her, from the Sunday Times bestselling author of Stoneblind, Natalie Haynes. Medea is one of the legendary murderers of Greek myth, a witch who uses her magic powers to slay a dragon and steal the golden fleece, a woman who will kill her own children in a startling act of revenge against her husband, and before all that, a young girl who falls in love with a man on an epic quest who has already abandoned one pregnant wife. Is she a cold-blooded killer, a woman who kills her brother, her love rival, her own children, who persuades other women to kill their male relatives too? Is she a woman in control or beyond it? And why is her treacherous husband the only person she leaves alive? So who is she, this woman who can commit the ultimate act of anti-motherhood and somehow impossibly stay sane? I have loved Natalie Haynes' Stoneblind and 1,000 Ships. I just squealed. This was literally 5 minutes ago that I got this. 5 minutes ago. I squealed when I saw this. Again, I don't know when it's coming out, other than it's coming out in 2025. There's not even a cover for it yet. But yes, I'm so freaking excited about this, and I will probably be checking every day as soon as I can pre-order it on Bookshop, not Amazon. And yeah, so excited. So Natalie Haynes, No Friend to This House, coming out sometime in 2025. By the way, the other book I was going to do was Brendan Slocum's new book, which is The Dark Maestro, which I already have on pre-order. So I'm definitely, I'm going to pre-order this too. But that was the one I had originally started until I got this email 5 minutes ago, or at least saw the email 5 minutes ago. Okay, next question. 12 Days of Christmas, a book of short stories. Now, I love short stories, and this was really hard for me to pick out, because short story collections are just sort of they contain multitudes. So it's hard to find one that really stuck out to me. But I decided to go back sort of to the Queen of Crime on this one. And I pulled out this one. This also has Natalie Haynes in it. This is Agatha Christie Marple. So it is not Agatha Christie. It is Agatha Christie, but it's not. It's Agatha Christie created Miss Marple, obviously. But these are 12 new mystery short stories written by other people featuring Miss Marple. And let me read the authors who are included. That's a little easier than the cover. That's a hard one to read. So the authors who are included in this are Naomi Alderman, Lee Bardugo, Alyssa Cole, Lucy Foley, Ellie Griffiths. And Ellie Griffiths' story is actually very interesting. I don't want to go into it, but it's an interesting story, and it's not what you think it is. Natalie Haynes, Jean Kwok, Val McDermott, Karen M. McManus, Dreda Say Mitchell, Kate Moss, and Ruth Rare. So these are big name writers, and they all have their take on Miss Marple. This was a really fun book to read. And I'm still I've read all the Agatha Christie Miss Marple stories, the short stories. I've read those, and I think I've only read 2 of the novels so far. And then this month I'll be reading the next one. But I enjoyed this, and yeah, it's also a great way to try out these authors if you haven't tried them out before. Okay. Number 6, The Little Drummer Boy, a book that brings back childhood memories. Somewhere in my house, I have a copy of this book. I think it's in my daughter's room, which means it's gone. I'm not going to find it. And that is On the Banks of Plum Creek by Laura Ingalls Wilder. So I know it's problematic. But I do love the Little House series, and this is my favorite of the Little House series. okay, like 10 years ago, we did a road trip, big road trip, family reunions, went to see family, went out to the Midwest, and we did a lot of the Laura Ingalls Wilder sites, including Plum Creek. And I'm going to put a picture here of my daughter standing in Plum Creek. That's like the real Plum Creek. That's right by where they know where the dugout was. It's right there. So this is the spot that is in that book. But this was my favorite Little House on the Prairie book. And it's the one that, when I was rereading these to my children, it was the one that I remember that I had the clearest memory of. So I loved it. And I know it's problematic, but I loved it. Okay. Number 7, Deck the Halls, a book that has a party scene or takes place during a holiday. So I thought about this one. And then I realized I had the perfect book. And that is Lillian Boxfish Takes a Walk by Kathleen Rooney. I read this last year in December, so almost a year ago. In fact, I'm not quite sure when in December. This is set on New Year's Eve. And it's about a woman who takes a walk and sort of thinks about her life on New Year's Eve. And, this was one of those books that I'd had for a long time. It came from January 2017 book of the month. I felt like I had to read it because it was on my shelves, but I didn't really feel a draw to it. And then Mariandra said she'd buddy read it with me. And I loved this book. This is the perfect book to read this time of year, especially if you're looking for something to read after Christmas. You're still kind of in that holiday period, but it's not Christmassy. You don't want to be reading Christmas stories because Christmas has passed. Christmas Day has passed, but you still want something like very seasonal. This is great because it's New Year's. I loved it. I might reread it. We'll see. I'm not committing to that. Because I have other stuff I need to read, but I might reread it for New Year's. We'll see. Okay, and finally, Frosty the Snowman, a book with a character who is cold or calculating. And this is a book-ish. It's a play that I recently read, and it is the most calculating character I have ever read. And the book is Othello. The character is not Othello. The character is Iago. Iago himself is a masterpiece. Iago himself, Shakespeare, all of Shakespeare is worth Iago. This is a really good play. If you've seen my rankings, when I redid my rankings, it broke the tie for number 1, and this is my number 1 play, even though my favorite's still 12th Night. This is the number 1 ranked play that I have read in the Bard Room. Hate the fact that it's a mass market paperback, but I'm keeping an eye out for a trade paperback somewhere. Yes, Iago. I think everyone should read this play because Iago is such a villain. And I think that so much, he's modern in a lot of ways. Like the psychology with him is very modern. But you can see the genesis of other villains in Iago. So definitely Othello, but not Othello. Iago is the character. Othello is the play. So those were the prompts. Now I'm going to tag some people. A lot of people have done this tag. There's been a lot of tagging. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull 3 here. I always tag 3 people. If you've already done it, then consider these shout outs more than tags. If you haven't done it, then yes, consider yourself tagged. But really, these are more shout outs. I'm going to shout these people out. So please go visit them. Go visit their channels. The first is Sandy at Ms. Reads a Lot. See who else is here. And I don't think Sandy's done this tag. I don't know if Sandy does tags, but if you do tags and you want to do it, go ahead and there you go. Oh, the next, I just finished a buddy read with this person. Lori at Books, Ink, and Paper. And I'll be talking about that book in my wrap up this week. I'm still thinking about that book, by the way, the book that I read with her, but you're going to have to tune in to find out. And the third one is Jim at Jim's Books, Reading, and Stuff. I think Jim may have done this tag. I can't remember. I have a vague memory of you doing this tag. If not, you can do it if you'd like, but this is really a shout out. So I am shouting out Sandy at Ms. Reads a Lot, Lori at Books, Ink, and Paper, and Jim at Books, Reading, and Stuff. Thank you very much. Like, subscribe, join my Discord, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.